Anyways, I battled the trainers on the other side of Sevii Islands, the route you can take by going from Cinnabar Island. Along the way, I netted a tentacle. I ventured back into the Sevii Islands to see if I can encounter some new Pokemon that I had mentioned earlier, and I actually encountered a Seal. Along with Seal, I also finished off the Psyduck evolution line by catching Golduck. Next was a Dugong. To finish off the Seal evolution, I caught it, and with them caught, I made my way back to Cinnabar Island, healed up my Pokemon, and took on the gym. Blaine's gym is rather simple. You have to go to a device in the corner of a room and answer a question. All questions are fair, and they test your knowledge of the Pokemon series. If you get a question wrong, you battle a trainer. You can also just talk to the trainers and battle them if you don't feel like answering the questions. Either way, the door will open to the next trainer until you reach Blaine. Lapras was the Pokemon I used for this challenge, spamming Surf as much as I could against the other Pokemon. All of the trainers specialize in fire types, so if you go in with a water type Pokemon, you should be fine. This was the perfect opportunity for Lapras to get some levels and catch up with the others on the team, so I didn't bother with answering the questions. However, there was a moment when Lapras lost all of its Pokemon power for Surf because of a Vulpix that used Grudge, so I had to switch out for a moment. After a quick heal, it was time to take on the gym leader himself. Blaine, like the others, specializes in fire-type Pokemon, and he has 4. Growlithe and Vulpix and their respective evolutions. Just like with the others, I used Lapras to battle against them. Though she was at level 36 and Blaine's Pokemon was over level 40, I was able to take out 3 of them, but his final one, Arcanine, took out Lapras. Kadabra got its health down low, so to finish it off, I used Howlet. Having defeated Blaine, we get the Volcano Badge, the 7th badge of the game. We've got only one more badge left, and then it's on to the Indigo League. But before we get to the final gym, we meet Bill again. He brings us along to an addition to the Gen 1 remakes, the Sevii Islands. There are 7 islands. If the name Sevii doesn't resemble the word 7, there's also the last 3 letters, Roman numerals that mean 7. So there's an interesting fact. Anyways, Bill invites us to join him to the Sevii Islands to meet with another Pokemaniac like him. On the islands, Celio, Bill's friend, runs the PC system out this far. There's a little quest we can go on while we're here, where we need to deliver a meteorite to a man on 2 Island. To take us to each island, we get the Tri-Pass, which takes us between 1 island, 2 island, and 3 island. A fun naming convention, if you ask me. Heading to 2 Island, we can find people like the Move Maniac and a stall that sells Pokeballs and other items. But for this quest, we need to get to the man at the game corner. I enter, and the man is worried for his daughter Lostel. He asks us to go to 3 Island to find her, while we're also introduced to a group of bikers who are messing with the locals. It should be noted that if you're going to the Sevii Islands, you might want to get a good team together. If you're hoping to swap out members of your party, you won't be able to until you finish the quest. You can't even go back to the Kanto region as well. You know, thinking about it, it would be rather interesting for a challenge where you set yourself up with a different team than your main one, and have to go through the islands with just that team. Maybe a 1 Pokemon team for this challenge. Anyways, we head to 3 Island to find Lostel. Here we can see the bikers terrorizing the place, even a large group past the Pokemon Center. When you get to this part, you have to battle the bikers in sequence with no breaks in between. Think of this as if you're challenging the Elite Four. One after the other, you'll battle more bikers until finally the leader. After defeating the leader, we can head on to Bond Bridge and the forest that Lostel is in. As you go through the forest, you'll encounter more Pokemon and some more trainers. There's Pokemon here you've encountered before, like Pidgey and Meow, so there's no new Pokemon here on the Sevii Islands. At least, not yet. Berry Forest is a wide maze, with a bunch of patches of grass that will pull you into more Pokemon encounters. You can pass through them easily if you have a Pokemon that knows Cut, but, since I left Nidoking in the box, I just went through the patches instead. So reaching Lostel, she mentions how there was a Pokemon that was scaring her, and the Pokemon shows up. It's Hypno! Now, as I battle and take Lostel back, I want to mention this. So, to normal players, it's just another Pokemon. However, let me read you the Pokedex entry for this Pokemon, and the context here will be kind of alerting. It carries a pendulum-like device. There once was an incident in which it took away a child it hypnotized. Now, after having caught this Pokemon, it was sent to the box. Wait, if the PC is down, then how does the Pokemon go to the box? Anyways, saving Lostel, we return to 2 Island and finally hand over the meteorite. We then head back to 1 Island and talk to Bill and Celio, who tell us that the PC is fixed, so now we're able to swap out the Pokemon if we need to. Anyways, we return back to the Kanto region, head all the way to the Viridian City gym leader, and we challenge the gym to get my team leveled up. Everyone was close to level 40, so it was basically an even match. But at the same time, I couldn't fall back on using only one Pokemon like Venus or Lapras, and some of the trainers, though they're mostly ground type, will have fighting type Pokemon. So other than the trainers here, there's the gym leader. The Viridian City gym leader, who's locked the doors to the gym for some time until this very moment. The last gym leader you need to face, and the boss of Team Rocket. Giovanni still has his team from when we battled before, but with an extra Rhyhorn. He has a Nidoking of his own along with Nidoqueen, and his other Pokemon is a Dugtrio. Lapras took out the majority of his team, but his Dugtrio finished off Lapras. However, thanks to Venus, we managed to take out his Dugtrio, his final Pokemon, and net us the Earth Badge. He'll talk about how he fashioned the badge when he ran the gym far too long ago. And if you were to talk to him again, he will talk about how he betrayed the trust of his followers, and now he'll dedicate himself to training, promptly disappearing with the prospect of seeing us again. Maybe we will see him again. Who knows? As for us, we have the opportunity to go through the Pokemon League and reach the Indigo Plateau where the Elite Four are. But I'm not gonna do any of that just yet. My team just reached level 40 when I beat Giovanni, so they're not particularly ready for Victory Road, let alone the Elite Four. So before I head out to begin my training, I start going through some of the towns to have Pokemon I have yet to catch. One of which was a Shelder that I fished for in Vermilion City. I returned back to the Seafoam Islands to catch a Krabby. I wanted to get a higher level one to evolve it faster, but I just went ahead and caught the highest one I could net, which was level 7. Next up on my adventure was the Power Plant. Right outside the Power Plant, you can find and battle a Pokemaniac. Quickly defeating him, we enter to catch some new Pokemon we couldn't find anywhere else. The Pokemon here in the Power Plant are full of Electric-type Pokemon like Magnemite, Magneton, and Voltorbs, but the one Pokemon we need to catch is an... Anyways, we go through the plant in order to find Magnemite, Magneton, and finally, Electabuzz. I managed to find Magnemite and its evolved form Magneton, and that only leaves one other Pokemon left in here. Okay, 2 other Pokemon. Now, Electabuzz has a 5% chance to spawn here in the Power Plant, and is exclusive to Fire Red. Now, it may be frustrating to find one, but there's a way you can influence its spawn, but there's some requirements. So, as I show you my attempts, let me take the time to explain some mechanics. So, the repels. They state that for some amount of steps, depending on what kind of repel you get, weak Pokemon will not appear. Now the game determines weak Pokemon based on the level of your leading Pokemon. So since all of my Pokemon are level 40, or close to it, we won't be encountering any here in the plant, with the highest level being a Pokemon at level 35. Now Sweet Scent is a Pokemon move that can lower the opposing Pokemon's evasiveness, but it can also be used outside of battle. This use is luring Pokemon. Are you picking up what I'm putting down? While I didn't use the Sweet Scent trick, I did use the Repel trick to influence its spawn. So if you're struggling to find your own Electabuzz, here's what you can do. Take a level 35 Pokemon and put it at the front of your party. Enter the Power Plant, use a Repel, and run around, or you can use Sweet Scent, and you should have an Electabuzz appear. And you're sure to have an Electabuzz appear because no other Pokemon in the Power Plant are level 35 except that one. Now, after adding some more Pokemon to the Pokedex, I began my training to get my team leveled up. And by training, that's right, I mean more grinding! I tested out different spots to grind for trainers. I tried the Celadon area, where you can battle a total of 6 trainers at once. Then there was the route south of Fuchsia City, where there are 4 trainers all in a circle. But I ultimately decided on one area to do my grinding. And it was my grinding for before the Elite Four and then the post-game grinding. I went to a route called Kindle Road that you can access just outside of one island. There you can battle up to 4 trainers at once, 3 single battles, and a double battle. Or would that make it 3 trainers? I don't know. Either way, this was the spot I chose to get my Pokemon leveled up in order to prepare for the Elite Four. After spending roughly 30 minutes there, I quickly returned to Kanto to battle as many trainers as I could, and that would involve going through Victory Road. So I headed back to Viridian City, healed up my Pokemon, and headed towards the League to enter, but before that, there is a battle I must take part in. Heading to the League building, I come across Blue again for another battle. This battle was definitely going to be different than last time since I have new Pokemon. His Pidgeot took Kadabra and Dragonair down. I sent Lapras out to finish him off with Ice Beam. So I was down 2 Pokemon, and he was down 1. He sent out Rhyhorn, which Lapras handled swiftly. Next was his Execute, so I brought out Howlet. Next was his Gyarados. Thankfully, Venus took him down without taking any damage. After Gyarados was Blue's Alakazam, so Howlet came back out to battle with Bite. With Alakazam brought down, his only other Pokemon was his Charizard. And he was 10 levels above Lapras, sitting at a nice and high level 53. Lapras got a little over half its health down with Surf, so I brought Howlet out to attack. He managed to get a Bite out, and to quickly finish him off, I brought out Venus next. He managed to get a Razor Leaf out, and Charizard was still up. So now it's time to battle with Pidgeot. One quick attack and he was down. It was a tough battle and a reminder that I need to continue leveling my Pokemon up if I want to take on the Elite Four. The most I can settle for is to get access to the Indigo Plateau. I passed through each gate, showing the guards the badges I collected, and soon reached the mouth of Victory Road. This dungeon is packed with ace trainers, as well as an annoying puzzle that involved pushing some rocks around. Which means that I needed to teach one of my Pokemon strength. So for the time being, I ran around in the cave to find some new Pokemon. And there were new Pokemon in this cave. You can find a Machoke and a Marowak here. And who could forget Zubat? No one ever forgets Zubat. Running around, I came across a Marowak. And this Marowak I was really interested in getting, since it knows False Swipe. It's a move that leaves the Pokemon with only 1 HP, which is good to use in trying to catch Pokemon. I didn't stick around, what with the lack of Pokemon that know Strength, so I returned to Kindle Road to continue my grinding. So, I don't know if anyone else does this for their grinding, but while I was getting my Pokemon up to level 50, I would find out how much experience is left for them to level up, type it into my calculator, and after each battle I would subtract that amount by how much XP they gained. I don't know if it's the same for everyone else, but I felt that it was going by a lot quicker than before. I guess it's because I have an active track of how much is left, besides the little blue health bar beneath the Pokemon's name and HP. Anyways, this grinding goes on for hours. Nothing of note, just battle after battle. After a few hours, I eventually got everyone leveled up to level 50, but before I went to finish up Victory Road, I went to the Name Raider again to give a nickname to everyone in my party. Now, I've already noticed some of the other Pokemon that I nicknamed, like Venus and Howlet, but with the Dragonair, Kadabra, and Lapras, as well as Pidgeot, I needed to name them as well. I chose to nickname Lapras Marrow because there's a Lapras on Lorelei's team, and I chose Marrow because Marrowing is too long of a name, and... Actually, just because there's a Lapras on Lorelei's team. No other reason. Not one reason. So I struggled to come up with a nickname for Dragonair and Kadabra. I wanted to give Dragonair a nickname by making it a rhyme of its final evolution, Dragonite, and Kadabra was a Pokemon I couldn't come up with a nickname for. I asked a friend on my Discord, and while I waited for a response, I went ahead and nicknamed Pidgeot Rivali, and soon my friend gave me the name Spooner for Kadabra. After some thinking, I decided to name Dragonair Might Knight. These 6 Pokemon are going to be a part of my Hall of Fame. The 6 Pokemon that will be going through Victory Road, the Elite Four, and then the Champion. So I go through Route 23, passing by the gates and entering Victory Road. Having taught Howlet's strength, I was able to get through some of the boulder pushing sections of the dungeon. I came across a Machoke, catching it for the Pokedex, and after a quick trip back to the Pokemon Center to heal up Spooner, who fainted in the fight against Machoke, I continued on my way through Victory Road. For this section, I gave Might Knight the experience share, so that it can get some experience to get it the next 5 levels needed to evolve. So as the time lapse goes, I want to talk about a change that was done to Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green. A change that's kind of prevalent here in Victory Road. In the original Gen 1 games, there was a Pokemon that you could find on your way to the Indigo Plateau, and that Pokemon is the final Pokemon of the legendary bird trio, Moltres. Moltres is that fire-type bird Pokemon that originally resided in Victory Road before being moved to the Sevii Islands. While I don't particularly have any interesting information on this one, there's a bit of lore involving Moltres. According to a trainer inside the Cinnabar Gym, it was said that Blaine once saw Moltres streaking through the sky, hence his obsession with fire-type Pokemon. But other than that, there isn't anything interesting in Victory Road. The one downside is that you can't use the Versus Seeker here, so you don't have access to a nice source of battling for experience. So I was left with my usual grinding at Kindle Road when the post-game began. Sure, there's the fact you can battle the Elite Four again, but I didn't want to have to go through the same cutscene over and over.